Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel that takes you deep inside the San Francisco 49ers. I am your host, Jack Hammer. Welcome back. I am here in Las Vegas where the 49ers today had day one of joint practices against the Raiders. It was an interesting practice. We'll go through all of it. We're going to break it down. We'll talk about the 49ers quarterbacks. We'll talk about Jimmy Garoppolo and his performance against the 49ers starting defense today a little bit. We'll talk about everything that kind of went down around the day, and we'll get into it all right now here on Inside the 49ers with Jack Hammer. Really quick, just want to shout out Randall, member of the Toolbox. That's why he has the dollar sign next to his name. He says, "Hey, Jack, hope you're having a great day and appreciate the analysis." Thank you very much, Randall. It's been an interesting day. I got on an airplane this morning. I woke up at 3:30, was on the road at 4, on an airplane at 6, here in Las Vegas at 7, and made it to practice just in time to hear Josh McDaniel address the media before practice. And then we went out. And this is the first time that I have been on a road for a 49ers practice for training camp. And I got to say, I was really excited about the opportunity, and I still am excited to be here. Trust me, to be able to see every practice of 49ers training camp is an honor and a treat. A little frustrating, though, when you get to the facility and you realize that you're in Henderson, but the teams are practicing in a different town. You know, I give the content creators grief that were at 49ers practice a little bit because they're sitting in the stands a field away. You know, there's a full-size football field between them and one of the practice fields that the 49ers practice on in Santa Clara. Well, you get here to Las Vegas, and it's not just one field, it's 2 fields. They have 3 fields, and all of the reps, other than some of the one-on-one reps between the offensive and defensive linemen, were either on the second field over or the far third field. So as I go through the information today, you're not going to hear a lot about the 49ers defense because for most of the practice, we couldn't see them. You could see the helmets way in the distance, but you just couldn't see them because they were, like I said, 2 football fields away. Plus, you had the players out on the sidelines. So that was a little difficult. But and then in terms of Goldblood asked about lunch, there was no lunch, there was no food, there was nothing. And I don't really care about the lunch or the food. I wasn't worried about that so much. They did have water and Gatorades for us. The Gatorade was a nice little treat. Grabbed one of those in the middle of a break. But let's get into practice. That's what we're here for. Let's get into this practice. And let's get into the quarterbacks. Let's start. Everybody likes to know the whole deal when it comes to the 49ers quarterbacks. And we're going to start off with Brock Purdy. Obviously, he's the starting quarterback, and so that's who we need to take a look at. And for Purdy, you had some good, you had some bad during this. This is his first action against a different team since the injury. It's really the first action for everybody on the 49ers since that NFC Championship game. But, you look at the practice overall, and it opened up fairly well for Brock Purdy. Came out, opening first throw, a little play action, rolling out to his left, hits Willie Snead. Nice little gain for about 8-9 yards. Couple plays later, he takes a shot down the field off play action to Deebo Samuel for a gain of 20. So a nice start. Then the next reps for Purdy comes during a red zone session. The first one, this was a little bit different today. It wasn't, sometimes they do red zone and they go like in 5-yard increments. Today they were doing it basically kind of like a move the ball type of thing. So they had a couple of runs to open it up. And then it was third down. Don't have the down and distance in front of me right now, but it was a third and 6 at the 11. And Purdy took a shot to Brandon Ayuk. Ayuk ran a slant over on the left side, and he just missed him. It was a bad throw. So you have that, and from there you bounce back. You come back. They started another one, and he had a little completion to Ty Davis Price, and then the following play he hit Christian McCaffrey in the left flat, little out route on the left side. McCaffrey caught it, was able to turn it up and get into the end zone before going out of bounds. So you get a touchdown there. So, you open up practice today for Purdy. He's 4 or 5. Not a bad start. Then you get into the move the ball period. The move the ball session against the Raiders starting defense opens up with a completion to Brandon Ayuk on a deep out to the right sideline. And, we've talked a lot about arm strength, about Brock Purdy's arm coming back from this injury. I've talked a lot about other quarterbacks on the 49ers being able to really throw that out route. And there's been some folks who have talked about Purdy not having the arm strength to make that throw. Today he did. And I looked at that throw and I said, that's a really good indicator of where he is in terms of coming back from that UCL surgery to the throwing elbow, because there's a couple of throws that you need to make regardless. If you want to know if a guy has an NFL arm or not, you send the guy out on a deep out route, 15 to 20 yards downfield, and see if he can hit that thing on a line. This throw from Purdy to Ayuk on the right side, that was one of those types of throws. So a really nice ball from Brock Purdy there at the start of that move the ball period to get the ball out there a little bit. Like I said, a nice out route, about 15 yards down the field to the right sideline. Then you see the downside for what happened with Brock Purdy today, and we've seen this throughout training camp. Following that solid throw, he mixes the next one. He's trying to get the ball over the middle. He's trying to throw a check down to Christian McCaffrey. He throws off the mark, and Raiders defensive back Marcus Peters is right there for the pick and takeaway over the middle. You can't, those little short check down throws, you got to get them on the mark. You got to get them there. And it was just a bad throw from Brock Purdy, plain and simple. Hits Marcus Peters right in the chest. It was an easy interception for the defensive back. And, a struggle a little bit. That's one of the big issues that we've had so far, I think, when you look at the Brock Purdy's training camp. I think he's done a really good job of building himself up, getting himself to where he's supposed to be. The issue is the turnovers. Fortunately, he's not stacking turnovers on top of each other in the same practice, but he's having, consistent issues with the interceptions. It's not quite daily, but it's damn close. So that's a little bit of an issue there for sure as we look at Brock Purdy's performance throughout this training camp. But then you have the interception. You come back from that, and Purdy had the 49ers' first team offense, and they finished up with a move the ball period. It was a hurry up type of situation though. So it was like a 2-minute drill, maybe a little bit less than 2 minutes. Team down by 4, and they're moving the ball. So it's in a hurry up mode, and it wasn't a smooth possession for Brock Purdy. But it was one that was effective, but they weren't able to finish it off. And I'm not sure because of where we're sitting, we can't see the clock. And I didn't even realize the situation. I knew they were in a hurry up type of mode, but I didn't realize the situation until later when they started to take us away to go have our interview with Kyle Shanahan after practice and the players. And then finally they took us in an area where, as we're walking around, you could see the scoreboard. You could actually see that there was players on the field really clearly for a change. And then I realized what the situation was. And that was actually during the move the ball at the end of practice for Trey Lance that we're going to get to in a second. But, you open this up and he has a couple of throws, a nice little short check down throw to Juwan Jennings for 3 yards. And then he picks up 15 on a deeper throw over the middle to Jennings. So you get a good start. You're rolling. Then you have a miss to Jennings. You have a miss to McCaffrey, 2 incompletions. And now you're sitting at 3rd and 10. And this is where, when you look at training camp stats, this is where the stats really don't matter, right? Because all that matters in this situation is, can you move the offense? Can you get down and complete the situation? So at this point right now in this move the ball, he's 2 of 4. So now you're facing 3rd and 10. Can you pick it up? And he does. He converts with a throw to Deebo Samuel. Samuel running a little curl route on the left side, and he was able to stick it in on him for a gain of 12. They hurry up to the line, run another quick play, and another 12-yard completion. This time it's to Ross Dwelley, who's running a little curl route over the middle from the tight end spot. And then from there, the possession stalls. After the completion to Dwelley, they run up to line of scrimmage. You get a spike. Clock stops. Then you have a couple of throws on 2nd down and 3rd down. One of them's to Deebo Samuel. That one's incomplete. And then on 3rd down, you have a throw to Juwan Jennings that's incomplete. It was interesting because after the throw to Deebo, I believe that was a deeper throw down the left sideline. The ball went high and out of bounds to the left side. I think it was kind of a little bit of a shot, but I think there was a penalty because they did move the ball down the field, and it went from 2nd and 10 to 1st and 10 in terms of the situation. And after the incompletion to Jennings, I'm not sure if they ran out of time or what the situation was. They called it at that point and took it back. So you look at the overall day, Purdy's 10 of 17, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 10 of 17, if you want to get into the game of drops and that kind of stuff, one of the incompletions today for Purdy was a spike. So it wasn't even an attempt. There was another one today that was a throwaway. Actually, I'm not even sure if that was him. That might have been the play for Trey Lance. That's not say the throwaway, but one of those incompletions, one of those 7 incompletions today for Purdy was a spike. But also you have the interception that's a negative. So overall today for Purdy, it was like I said at the beginning, it was some good, some bad, not perfect at all by any stretch of the imagination, but it was an okay day. It was a day in which they were able to get some work in. Not anything. This isn't the kind of day where I would get overly worried about the performance, but you got to start picking it up. We're right at that range right now. We're on August 10th. This is right around the time when I thought he would be starting to come back. So we need to start to see. I haven't played that the whole game with Brock Purdy when it comes to rust and those types of things. I think that was wiped away after day 2. He needs to start improving, and the offense as a whole needs to start working better. And I saw your deal over there, Randall. That's a good one on Latu. We'll get to that one right now. So that's the day for Purdy. Some good, some bad. 10 of 17, touchdown pick. It was an okay day. Then you get over to Trey Lance, and I've been really positive on Trey Lance throughout camp. I think the biggest thing when you watch Trey Lance throw is from day 1 of training camp, I've talked about the improved motion. We talked about that during OTAs and minicamp, and then we get out here to training camp, and it's showing while he's working the offense. So that's a good thing. But you look at Trey Lance's day, and backups in general for the 49ers, it was kind of a weird, wonky day in terms of the snaps that they got, because when you look at Brandon Allen, for example, he didn't get a single rep today, whether it was 7-on-7 or 11-on-11. He didn't get a single rep other than just throwing to the receivers and one-on-ones and throwing the ball with the quarterbacks. When it comes to Trey Lance, I felt like he had a rough day at the start, especially. He had a fumbled snap and a false start. That was his first series. They came out, they ran the ball on first down. Then he fumbled the snap on second down. They had a false start on the third down, and Kyle Shanahan got him off the field and brought in the third team. So there's that. And then also he missed badly on 2 of his first 4 attempts. Of his first 4 attempts, there was one nice completion that was over the middle to Deebo Samuel. Samuel running a 15-yard curl over the middle. That's a route it's a basic route in the 49ers system that Lance hit really nice today. It was a really nice ball. Hit him right here. Boom. Really nice one. And the other, you saw that also a little bit with the other quarterback. And then the other incompletion, remember now he's only hitting one of his first 4, 2 bad throws. He has the Samuel. The other incompletion was an accurate throw to Kalen LeBourne that the running back dropped. You just got to, that's one of the things when you look at LeBourne, a lot of people are asking about his possibility that he's going to make the roster. He's not going to make the roster. He's going to be a guy that maybe ends up on the Hornets practice squad. And he hasn't dropped very many balls, but I just don't see him as being a guy that's going to stick around. I think that's part of the reason why they went out and made the move to bring in McNichol the other day. McNichols. And despite the early struggles, Lance looked sharp while leading the second team offense in a hurry up, move the ball situation. So, you look at those numbers for the day, 1 of 4 to start off with. And it wasn't until the end of practice, the very last possession of practice, where the majority of Lance's throws came from. But at the same time, it was a really nice move the ball situation, hurry up. And I have seen Lance do this in training camp before. He did it last year at times in Santa Clara. In this one, he opens it up with a nice little short completion to the left side to Chris Conley, who's running it in. Then from there, he takes a deep shot down the right sideline, but the throw to Tay Martin sailed long. It was just a deep shot down the right sideline, overthrew it. The closest guy to it was a Raider DB, but that's not on Lance's fault. He let it go, and the receiver slowed down, and it was just a overthrown ball. No big deal. No big deal, because you come back on the next one, and he has a nice completion to Ronnie Bell. And then from Bell, he goes to the next one to Willie Snead. Then this was the best throw of the day, I think, from Trey Lance. Plus, I think the fact where I was standing helped make it the best throw, because I'm standing in the end zone, and you can see the anticipation with which he throws this deep in route to Ronnie Bell. Ronnie Bell's running down the right side. He's coming in, and just as he starts to, you can see because I'm behind the play, you can see where the hole is developed in the secondary. Lance hits that hole with a shot. I mean, that ball is just really nice. Spiral right on the money. Hits Bell in stride. Boom, they pick up the first down there. Then he has another little short completion to Jordan Mason, and that gets them down deep into the red zone. But that's where the drive stalls. So they get down there, and now there's only 6 seconds remaining to this point. So they got 2 shots in the end zone. The scoreboard says it's 28-24. So you're not playing for a field goal. You've got to get the ball into the end zone here. This is something the 49ers do every year during camp. Lance drops back to pass. He gets pressure, rolls to his left, does a good job getting out, throws the ball out of bounds over the receiver, over Jordan Mason's head. Wasn't even trying to get it to him, because if he was, he just badly overthrew him. But I think that he was throwing the ball away because of where the ball landed. And then from there, again, now it's second down in the red zone, deep in the red zone. Got to score a touchdown. Drops back to pass. Pressure gets to Lance, forces him out to his left. He moves to his left, buys some time, and then he sees Cameron Latu in the end zone, drills it into him. Latu gets his hands up. He kind of had to go up in the air a little bit. Both hands on the ball. Incompletion. Should have been a touchdown. And that ends the day. No more time left on the clock. You ended up, you're 7-12. Would have been nice for the 49ers to get that touchdown in right there, to finish on a high note. And that's a bit bad miss. And, that's where you walk away from this day with Trey Lance, and you walk away thinking that this was a good day. He was only 6-12, but he moved the offense, and that was a good day. He moved the offense in his one shot. He had some really nice throws. So really good stuff there. In terms of what's going on in the background with the window, there's must be a pipe out there that's steaming, because I'm only on the second floor. I'm not a high roller, so I'm just above the casino. So that's probably coming from downstairs, where they probably got a restaurant below me or something. But yeah, you look overall, and I feel like this was a solid day for Trey Lance, and I think it was a good day. I don't know if it was a good day. I think it was an okay day for Brock Purdy. I don't think it was a bad day for either one of them. And I've said that a few times about the 49ers this camp. No. Moses says, Jack, was it just the 49er media that got mistreated? Nobody got mistreated. Everybody had the same treatment. Everybody had the same situation. All of us, whether you were a 49er media member or you were a Raider media member, you all had the same situation. I think the difference is that for 49ers media members, we don't usually have this kind of a situation where we're so far away from the field. Generally, we're right there on the sidelines, able to see the action. I know back in the day from talking to Grant way back in the past and so on, that when Jim Harbaugh was the head coach in the 49ers, they often had these types of situations because the media wasn't allowed to roam the field like they can now. And I don't really get the whole reason why. It's, you got people there to do a job. You got people there like myself and everybody else who we're trying to get information out to your fans, to give them the best information possible to your fans. And it's just not it's tough. You can't see anything. And when they were doing the portion that I'm talking about here in terms of the offensive side for the 49ers, the offensive stuff for the 49ers was always on the middle field. So that was somewhat, you could see that. It was just that third field where the Raiders were. Raiders offense was working for most of the practice that you couldn't see, and that's where they also did the special teams practice. So in terms of mistreatment, nobody got mistreated. I don't feel like I got mistreated at all. It's just the way that it was in terms of who showed up and how the Raiders run their deal. So it's whatever. Yeah, that's right. Now let's get to this one. Ronnie Montoya, he wants to know how the O-line did. And let's get into this one. And real quick, before I get to the O-line, let me tell you what happened with the other two quarterbacks. I already said Brandon Allen, he didn't play today. He was on the field in his uniform. That was about it. Sam Darnold, he didn't really play much today either. He only had 3 pass attempts during team drills. He had 1 completion. It was to Juwan Jennings, play action, roll out to his left and throw it to him in the flat. Other than that, he had 2 incompletions. All the quarterbacks also did 7-on-7. I didn't report those in terms of my stats, but in the 7-on-7 period, just to give you those numbers. Purdy completed his first 4 and then went back and struggled a little bit in his second 4. You had a little bit better coverage. You had a pass breakup on a throw to Deebo Samuel. You had another pass breakup on a throw to Willie Snead, those types of things. And then in terms of Sam Darnold, he ended up 3 or 4 during 7-on-7 with a pass breakup. And Trey Lance went 1 for 2 or 2 for 3, excuse me. The only incompletion was a drop by the jackhammer. Jack Coletto let him down, dropped the pass in the left flat. But he also didn't really go down the field too much. He took one deep shot or had a deep slant, excuse me, that he completed to Chris Conley. And then the other 2 throws were short. A little dump off to Coletto, and then a little left throw, little throw out to the left. It was about a yard down the field where he completed it to one of the rookies, Winstead, for a gain of 1. So that was the way 7-on-7 went. And offensive line, I like this question. Let's get to it, because I like this question because this is one of my things coming in to this workout that I wanted to see was how was the offensive line going to stand up to the Raiders? Max Crosby, Chandler Jones. This is a good defensive front that the Raiders have. A lot of their problems are more in the secondary, not with their pressure that they can put on you. And I felt like the 49ers offensive line handled it well. One of the things that was cool was one of the things that they did run on the field right in front of us was all the offensive line one-on-one. So we got a really good view of the 49ers going against the Raiders defense. Over on the other end was the 49ers defense going against the Raiders offense. Today, I decided to watch the 49ers offense because that was one of my things. I wanted to see how Colton McKivitz was going to hold up. And I'll say this, Colton McKivitz did a good job. Colton McKivitz went up against Chandler Jones, did a really nice job. At the point of attack, you had a little spin, but even then he was able to catch him, and he was able to run Jones past where the quarterback was, so that was a good rep there. And he was able to win his second rep as well. So really good look there. The entire 49ers first team offense won their first rep go through. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks looked like a damn wall. He looks like, he was so solid in his pass protection reps. He was going up against Blair, I don't know what his name, Nichols from the Raiders, one of their interior defensive linemen. But he stood the guy up every time that he was out there. Was really nice for Aaron Banks. He did a really good job. Same thing with Spencer Burford. The only offensive lineman among the 49ers first 5 that struggled a little bit was Jake Brendel. Jake Brendel had a couple of reps where he struggled, got beat once in the one-on-ones. One of the cool things that they did today that they don't usually do in Santa Clara when it's just the 49ers by themselves is, in addition to just doing the one-on-ones, they also did 2-on-2s. So you had the tackles and the guards working together against a defensive tackle and end, and you had those guys working on twists and stunts and those kind of things. So that was cool to watch those offensive linemen and how they're able to work together to handle those, follow the guy in, pick the guy up coming around the other side. And that was really good. You got to see both of the tackle and guard groups did a really nice job. First off was Williams. Trent Williams did a really nice job on Max Crosby to start with. But then you have 71 and 65. So you have Banks and Williams working together, did a really nice job passing that up. And then on the other side, you saw the same thing with Spencer Burford and Colton McKivitz. Those two did a really nice job sliding and protecting. So that was a really good job for that 49ers offensive line. So I was really happy with what I saw from that group. There was one sack, and it was on but during team, it was a sack of Brock Purdy. It was on a long developing play action, one of those type, kind of like what we saw in the NFC Championship game. Ball didn't come out, so there was a sack there. And I'll get to, on the defensive side, it's hard for me on this one to really talk too much about how the safeties look, because I didn't really get a lot of a view of what they did. But what I will say when it comes to the 49ers safeties, well, the starting safeties for the 49ers are the same as last year. Tayshaun Gibson and Talanoa Hufanga. Those are your starters. The backups are looking like uh, it's going to be George Odom and Jair Brown. That looks like the top four. Another safety that's been looking really good though is Taylor Hawkins. Taylor Hawkins isn't, he's a guy who's been. I'm just going to jump to him really quick. Taylor Hawkins is a backup safety who has just been really solid this camp. He's been impressive throughout. You see him around the ball constantly. I think it's a long shot for him to make the team, considering they drafted Brown. Gibson's going to be a starter. Hufanga is going to be a starter, and I don't see them letting go of George Odom because he's too good of a safety and too good on special teams. He was just an All-Pro last year, so I don't see that. So I don't think Taylor Hawkins is going to be able to make this team out of training camp. I think he ends up on the practice squad if he stays with this organization. But he has been really good today. He picked off Brian Hoyer in team, trying to get the ball over the middle. Hawkins was able to get the ball and take it the other direction. Just a really nice play from Taylor Hawkins. Pick six in the other direction off of Brian Hoyer. So that was an interesting one. In terms of the defense as a whole, like I said, they practiced. We're in Henderson. I think they were in Reno. So we didn't really get to see them too much. However, when they did move to the middle, that was for like late during the move the ball type periods. And Jimmy Garoppolo took the field with that first team offense of the Las Vegas Raiders. And, when you look back at what he did, 7-play drive, he completed 6 of 7 and ended it with a touchdown to Austin Hooper. So if you want to know how the 49ers starting defense looked today against Jimmy Garoppolo, they probably looked better at other times, but when it got to a situation where you knew they were going to have to throw and they were going to have to go the length of the field to score a touchdown or, get points, Jimmy Garoppolo went 6 of 7 right down the middle of the field on the 49ers defense. So a really nice day there, really nice drive to end the day for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think when you hear reports about practice day and you hear Garoppolo overall having a really good day, again, I didn't see everything because there was no way that I could see it. And I know that the other reporters who were there couldn't really say it. So, I'm basing Garoppolo's day off of just one series. If I say he had a really good day against this defense, but I'll tell you what, that one drive was impressive. And it's a little concerning that the 49ers defense allowed that to happen. It's one thing, this year, this defense is going to have to help carry this team. And that was just a bad one. So I hope I answered your question there. And then we have Shane Colamarino. Thank you for the super chat. Jack, as always, let me learn to read. Jack, awesome as always. A lot of talk about Bosa. I don't think the Niners want him in these practices. Look at the injuries today. Bet he signs next week. I don't think it's so much of an issue of they could have signed him. Him not being here has nothing to do with them not wanting him to participate in these practices. He could be signed and just not practice, like George Kittle sat out the day today because of a little bit of an injury. The other players are sitting out. I do think that they're not stressed about it because as long as he gets in the next couple of weeks, he's going to be just fine for week one. I think he needs probably a good week or two on the field to really get rolling. So he could technically sign after training camp is all done, after the cuts are done, and he's still going to have a week and a half or 2 weeks to get ready to go. He's going to still have a lot of time to practice. So I do think I think that's the biggest thing is that they're not worried about it and they're not pushing on it too much. Let's see what else we've got. How about the Niners, says Jack? Do you think Ray's injury solidifies Jameson's spot on the 53 as the return man? I'm not sure if I would go that far right now because last year the two return men for the 49ers, and I say this based off of when they would come out for warmups, they always they're working to start off with. They have a couple of guys fielding punts and kicks, and it was always Ray McLeod and Danny Gray that were on the field fielding kicks before the games. So I don't necessarily think that Ray McLeod's injury solidifies Deshaun Jameson's spot on the 53 as the return man. They might decide to go with Danny Gray instead as that return man. Gray, right now, he's probably now because of the injury to McLeod, he's the fourth best wide receiver on the 49ers roster that's healthy. And so, I'm not too worried about the return. I think it's either Danny Gray, Deshaun Jameson is a guy who has had a good camp. He's looked really good since OTAs. But I'm just not sure if in the 49ers' minds, he's really there right now in a position where he's going to make the 53 man, because he's not going to make the 53 man just as a returner. Whichever guy is their returner is going to be on their roster because he's able to play another position. That's, last year they made a lot of moves during free agency to bring in guys for special teams, but all those guys that they brought in for special teams could also play spots on defense, like Odom being a backup safety, or in Burks, backup linebacker, and Burks right now in position to be that the top guy. So if the injury to Raven McLeod helps anybody, it helps this guy out. It helps Ronnie Bell. It helps give him a chance to make this 53, and I think that's partly why you saw him as active today as he was. Typically, Ronnie Bell doesn't catch passes from very often from Trey Lance. Most of the time, he's working with the third unit, and it's not Trey Lance that's throwing him the ball. But today, he threw him to him twice, and they had two really nice catches. And I think if anybody, Ronnie Bell, maybe Tay Martin, those types of players are the ones that maybe get a benefit of helps them make that 53. Plus, we need to see what the Flyers decide that they're going to do with Raven McLeod. Are they going to put him on, is he going to start the season off on IR, which means it could be a little bit longer of a delay? I'd have to look it up, all the different specifics around those rules as we get a little bit closer to the end. But I do think that it helps Bell's chances to make the 53 that Ray McLeod is out. Absolutely. I think he was on the bubble before. I think this pushes him up a notch because Ronnie Bell's a really nice player. Ray McLeod can, he was the guy last year that the 49ers kind of used as the, Debo Light type of thing. And I think you might see some of that out of Danny Gray this year. I know during practice on Tuesday, we saw some runs out of Danny Gray and team. So, he can do it. I think Danny Gray's been pigeonholed by a lot of people as the deep speedster guy, when in reality, he's just a really fast wide receiver that can do everything. How did the ends do? I didn't really get a chance to watch the ends all that much. They obviously didn't get enough pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo in that one series to hold them. And even before that, in the series before that Garoppolo was out there, he was able to find some success. That wasn't a move the ball. So I don't think the defensive ends today were really all that impressive. But I'll get a little bit better look tomorrow when they go into those one-on-ones. I'll spend some more time with that group tomorrow instead of the offensive line. And this is a really good question, Robbie. Were the fumbles on Trey or the center? I don't know. I don't know if it was on Trey Lance. I don't know if it was on the center. Kyle Shanahan was mentioned to Kyle Shanahan, and he said that he didn't know either, and he was talked about being glad that he didn't have to be under there to find out. It's just something that those guys need to work on, and it's not something that's been a big problem in camp for Lance. He had some of those in OTAs, mini camp, but whatever. It was a note of the way that the day went, and I think the one it kind of between the fumble and the false start, I think it kind of ruined the beginning of practice and a couple of reps for him. Texas Niner says, how about Purdy being a second-year NFL quarterback? I'm not sure what you're getting at on that one, but again, Purdy's day-to-day was fine. It wasn't great, wasn't bad. It was just it was a day. It wasn't anything to get overly worked up about. Again, 16 of 10 on targeted throws. Not a bad day. The interception was bad, and you can't have that. Those things need to be taken care of. Corey says, are joint practices something fans can attend? I do think that the Raiders have a limited capacity in terms of allowing fans to attend. I think most of it today was just family. They do have the stands. That's where we sat up for most of the practice because it allowed to get elevated a little bit. To see standing on the field would have been worthless, other than during the one-on-one reps and stuff like that. So the Raiders don't have as many open practices at the 49ers, and these joint practices I don't think are open to outside fans right now. And the first preseason game is coming up on Sunday, right here in Vegas. That's what this is all about. Let me just see really quick kind of what's going on. I don't see any other comments that I want to get to right now, but you look at the day overall. Juwan Jennings, I think, was a guy who really stood out for me. He was targeted 8 times, the most of any of the 49ers, and brought in everything he was able to get his hands on. So there's a couple of bad throws. Can't blame that one, those balls on him, but the good on target throws, he did a good job. And Juwan Jennings is going to be a big part of this team this year. Probably going to be his last season in a 49ers uniform, but the 49ers are going to do everything they can to get the most out of Jennings. It's very similar to Bourne, a few years back before he left. Kendrick Bourne started to become a really nice player for the 49ers before he left. You look at Christian McCaffrey. He had that touchdown reception from Purdy. He also had a lot of good runs today on the ground as well. He was able to slice through and also run around the 49ers defense for several big games. He had a couple of nice pops up the middle, a couple of nice runs around the edge. There was one play that I saw reported as a touchdown on a screen, but I didn't report it as a touchdown because he caught it. He's running down the sidelines, and there was a whistle that blew. So they blew the play dead long before he got there. And so I don't know if he would have actually gotten to the end zone if it wasn't for the whistle blowing, because guys take angles and all that kind of stuff. And if they let up because they hear a whistle, that could have impacted the fact that McCaffrey was actually able to get all the way down the sideline. So I didn't count that one as a touchdown. So that's just kind of giving you guys a heads up on that, if you heard it elsewhere. Mimi B says, how did Hargrave do? Was he double teamed? Going to be exciting to see him and Bosa on the same line. Can't double team both. Again, I didn't really get to see much of Hargrave today. I didn't pay attention to the defensive line during the one-on-one drills. And when they were running team, because of how far we were away and the players along the sidelines, it was really hard to see anything that was going on in the trenches during the team portion. So I didn't see that. But I'll give you a better, tomorrow when you tune in, you'll get a better update on that, on Hargrave. I'm going to be watching the defensive line tomorrow. Hopefully they'll do the one-on-ones in the same area, and I'll go check out the defensive line tomorrow instead. So I will definitely get that to you. Hargrave's had a really nice camp, and I agree with you. I'm excited to see what him and Bosa do on the line. And I agree with you. You can't double team both. And in addition to, being excited about seeing Javon Hargrave, I'm excited to also see him alongside a healthy Eric Armstead. If Eric Armstead's healthy and Nick Bosa's healthy, those three are going to be tremendous. And then, whoever the fourth guy is along that defensive line, it's supposed to be Drake Jackson. He's been dealing with some injuries. Clelin Ferrell is a guy who I think can give the 49ers some stuff. Austin Bryant today, I didn't even talk about his, but Austin Bryant, he's out there and he blew right around the Raiders backup tackle for what would have been a sack of Brian Hoyer. That was one of the few times in this camp where we've seen a 49ers defensive end just run around a guy. And it's Austin Bryant that's done it more than anybody else. And today he did it against the Raiders backup right tackle, because Bryant's working with the second defense right now. He's not a starter. So he's a guy that's going to come off the bench and that type of a role. Today, he looks really good. When he's healthy, Austin Bryant's the guy, when he's healthy, he's put up, decent numbers, 4.5 sacks or whatever it is. But if he can stay healthy with Chris Kosarek working with him on the defensive line, I do think he can find some success here if he's able to make the team. But I'm with you on that first part of your comment. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate it. And then 49er Oregon, thank you. He says, thank you, Jack, for traveling and covering the team. Absolutely. I love watching football. I love football in general. And I grew up a 49er fan. And to be able to cover the team now is awesome. And to be able to do this for the first time, I've never been able to travel for training camp. I wasn't able to get down to Los Angeles, or was it San Diego a couple of years ago for the Chargers. Wasn't able to get out to Minnesota last year. So to be able to come here and watch the team practice against the Raiders is a lot of fun. And it's, I appreciate you saying thank you. Thank you for watching. And I'll tell you this, I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm luckier than heck to be able to do what I do And I really appreciate all you guys for watching. Uh, Flave jumps in and says, did Trey Lance get pulled out and put on third string after a fumble snap? How is that not the headline? Why would it be the headline? If he didn't get pulled out and put on third string at all. Trey Lance and the 49ers' second offense were taken out after their 3 plays and replaced by the 49ers' third team. And I don't know if they were pulled out because of the snap and all that stuff, or if it was just a 3-play rotation for that situation. The 49er starters came out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 reps to start the day. Then you had 6 reps, 3 from Lance, 3 for Darnold, working with the 2s and the 3s. That makes sense to me. I don't think this is so much about. It's not. There's no reason for that to be the headline. If I wanted to have a negative headline of Trey Lance, it would be a couple of fumbles that he had, and that would have been the story. What you're saying here, Flave, would have been the story if Trey Lance didn't take the field at the end of practice and lead the 49ers the offense down the field almost into the end zone. Then the story would have been different. So that's part of the reason why I push back on some of this stuff is and I push back on, with Brock Purdy too. I'll push back on this with Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a good day when you consider the way that he finished. It started off rough, but he had a good finish. And so Trey Lance had a fair day, a solid day, just like I felt like Brock Purdy had a solid day, except for they were a little bit different. Trey Lance's best part of his day was at the end. Brock Purdy's best part of his day was at the beginning. Shane Colamarino, would you touch on your opinion on the injuries? Let's get to the injuries real quick because I haven't talked about those yet. But you got a bunch of them. We have Ray McLeod fractured the wrist in practice. According to Shanahan, that happened on Monday. I thought I saw him on the field on Tuesday, but I could be mistaken. So he's going to be out about 8 weeks as a result. That's a tough one. We talked about some of the receivers that could possibly replace those guys. So we'll see where that goes. On the defensive side, Drake Jackson, Robert Beal, Kalia Davis, Dre Greenlaw, all missed practice. All of them are dealing with the same thing, hamstring injuries. Kalia Davis has been out for a while. Dre Greenlaw, he's been in and out. Robert Beal's been out for a while. Drake Jackson, he just tweaked his a couple of days ago. So we got to say how that goes. Dre Greenlaw, they had him. He actually tried to go today, but it wasn't feeling good at the beginning of practice, so he pulled out after just a couple of reps there. George Kittle, he sat out today due to a thigh injury, and then Jalen Moore, he continues to miss time after suffering the knee injury last week. I think there's a really good chance that we don't see George Kittle tomorrow either. With the game coming up on Sunday, this is a really good time for the 49ers to allow these guys, especially a guy like George Kittle, a guy like Dre Greenlaw, guys like Drake Jackson, allow those guys that you expect to be starters, just let them heal. You learn some stuff going against the Raiders, obviously, but they're not going to play on Sunday. So just go ahead and let them take a 4-day break. Actually, it's going to be 5 because they just had the off day on Wednesday. Let them take a break. And then let's see where they are, because your next practice, they're going to play on Sunday. Monday's an off day, a natural off day. And then probably the next practice after that will be Tuesday. So that means these guys that are injured right now, Jackson and Beal and Davis and Greenlaw and Kittle and Moore, all those guys are going to be able to probably be back on the field next Tuesday, as long as their hamstring injuries and their thigh injuries and those kind of things recover well. Jalen Moore, remember, he injured his knee, so it's a little bit different. That was a bone bruise, but knees kind of sometimes will linger a little bit. So in terms of the injuries, those injuries for the 49ers, it's something to know about. As far as being overly concerned about, I don't think it's a big concern at this point. I hope I answered your question. As far as my opinion, I don't know if there. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't know if I have an overriding opinion on it. I just think it's a deal where, let it work out. Flave says, okay, thanks for the super chat. Flave says, was confirming sound like that was the case from Grant? And again, it could have been the case, or it could have just been the fact that, and it could have looked like that to Grant, and it looked like that originally to me, but then looking at the way that reps were split and stuff, I think that it could have been a situation where they're frustrated and they just pulled off the entire second team, because that's what happened. It wasn't just a quarterback. They pulled off the entire second unit and put the thirds on there. So it could have just been just a little thing. Plus, when you go back and you look at the number of reps that Sam Darnold had today, it's a good thing they put him in right there, or else he wouldn't have touched the field, because he got 3 reps there, and then he only got 3 more reps the rest of practice. So he hardly even touched the field today. So I don't think that it was a case where they were pulling him there just because of the mistake. I think it was more to it, and that's one of the things when we're watching practice, and sometimes things like that happen. Well, this is, yeah, Brad, I know that's the thing. He says, get a step ladder and a pair of binoculars, a little bit higher vantage point. I had my binoculars, but the problem is with the binoculars, you can only see, what's in the circle. You can't see the entire picture, and that drives me crazy. I got to see the entire things so I really know what's going on. Otherwise, I'm like zeroed in on the quarterback or something like that. But yeah, I was ready. I was ready to lift whoever needed to on my shoulders to help him out. Or Grant's a tall guy, a little bit taller than me, so I could have just maybe had him. Maybe tomorrow I'll ask Grant if he can lift me up. Grant can't lift me up. I'm too fat, so that won't happen. But I'm not taking a shot at anybody. I'm just joking. How is Lance getting pulled? Not newsworthy because he didn't get pulled. He didn't get pulled. Trey Lance didn't. That's the thing. Trey Lance did not get pulled. If Trey Lance got pulled, he would have been out of practice or something like that. Again, if you look at the way the reps went throughout the day, it's one thing to say at that moment, oh, he got pulled. But then to go back and look at your notes and realize that Trey Lance or Sam Darnold, excuse me, only had 6 reps total during team today, and 3 of them were there and 3 of them came later. I think that shows that it's not anything that was newsworthy and that it's not actually being pulled. It's just part of the way that they had set up practice for today. Let's see what else we got. Elite Team Killer says, Jack, how is your house burning in the background and you're not even breaking a sweat? Dude, that's not going to bother me. I got it. We'll take care of it. Yeah, it's funny that I saw that behind me right after I went going. And no, I'm not at a Jack. I'm in Vegas, a little bit off the strip. All kinds of cool things in this hotel. But I'm only one floor up. If I was up like 4 or 5 floors, like the guys that actually have money, you wouldn't see the smoke because I wouldn't be this close to one of the kitchens. Let me just see if there's anything else. That's right, Ty. That's right, Ty. That's exactly right. That's the best one of the day right there. Jack's background shows you he wants all the smoke. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's a good one. You just made me laugh. Thanks, Ty. And that's really it. I went through everything. Again, you look back at the day, 10 of 17 overall for Brock Purdy, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Trey Lance, 6 of 12, did a really nice job in the move the ball in a hurry up situation. Really liked what they did there. Sam Darnold, just 3 passes today, completed 1. Brandon Allen was out there just making sure that everybody got on the field when they're supposed to. It also sounded as if Trey was with the 3s after he came off, but you're saying he was still with the 2s. Do you expect Darnold to get reps tomorrow? Yes. Let's see how tomorrow goes. But typically they're trying to keep the reps between Darnold and Lance to be even. So my guess is that today was the heavy day for Lance. Tomorrow will be the heavy day for Darnold. If not, I'm going to just throw this out. This isn't anything for me. This is actually, somebody mentioned it on Twitter, was saying, if you look at the rep count for Trey Lance today, it could be concerning. And I asked why, and he said, well, because of all the rumors about them trying to showcase him for a trade. Because if you remember, Matt Miyoko a little while back had mentioned the possibility of this being kind of a showcase week for Trey Lance. And so let's see how tomorrow goes. If tomorrow we see a same situation where Trey Lance comes out of tomorrow with 12 target or 12 throws and Sam Darnold comes out with only 3, then maybe there's a little bit to that. But I would say, just based off of the expectations and what we've seen to this point, I would say that Sam Darnold is going to probably be the guy that gets the majority of the reps, with Trey Lance getting a little bit less. So just something to keep an eye on, definitely for tomorrow. And I appreciate that is a good question, Flave. Thank you very much. All your questions have been fine. I just got frustrated. I get a little bit frustrated with some of the stuff around Lance, because I do feel like Trey Lance has had a really nice, very good training camp. His throwing motion is much better. He's been much more on target. There have been throws that he missed badly in years past specifically last year in training camp, that he has been on the money with in camp this year. So definitely some growth from Trey Lance. And there's a lot of people that are saying that he should be the starter. I don't buy into that at this point. What I would say is that the 49ers are just in a really nice spot. I think Brock Purdy is going to be just fine. He's going to be the guy that once you have all the 49ers players on the field together and they're game planning and they're getting ready for a game. I think he's going to be just fine. His numbers right now are roughly around where he was last year. Actually, I think he had more. He had more turnovers, I think, last year, if we're being honest, than this year in fewer reps. So let's see how it goes. 49ers are in a good spot. You got Brock Purdy doing well. The fact that Brock Purdy has been getting as many reps as he has, that's awesome. Then you also have Trey Lance, and Trey Lance is doing very well. And if he's not the starter, Trey Lance as your backup would be really nice for the 49ers. And then same thing with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's had a nice camp as well. So all good things there. Again, the smoke in the background is coming from a restaurant below me, so we're all good. I don't have to worry about anything out here. I want to say thanks to everybody for taking the time to tune in. If you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. And then once you hit the like button, also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And once you subscribe, turn on your notifications, because once you turn your notifications on, that's going to help you out a lot, especially during this off season. And with the channel, you won't miss any of the content that way. It'll let you know every time I go live, because I'm not on a regular schedule at this point for the live shows. Also, when I upload content, it'll let you know that there's been new content uploaded. So please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Got to shout out my guy, Brian Culp. Brian, I can't believe that I missed this one last piece. I got to hit this twice today. There was only two guys, one guy that kicked field goals for the 49ers, Jake Moody, 2 times from 48, splitting the uprights. It's good. So the 49ers offense with Jake Moody and his ability to kick field goals, got to shout out Brian's a big special teams guy, and he's also a member of the Toolbox. So I had to shout that out. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Check me out again tomorrow with the update from day 2 of Raiders 49ers here in Vegas. Take care, everybody. We'll talk with you soon.